give you guys a little bit more details since we're here talking specifically on dungeons and raids. Essentially, the concept came up from what we did with Dungeon Finder and being able to see how successful that's been with getting a lot more players into the dungeon content that we build. What we've found with raids, though, is that we aren't seeing as wide of an audience as we would like in our raid content. We spend a lot of time on the raid content, and it's also just got some of our coolest fights, some of our best creatures, and we really feel like everyone should have a chance to see that content. That's one of the main reasons we decided to get it in with patch 4.3 instead of waiting until Mists of Pandaria, because being able to fight Deathwing in the Dragonsoul raid, we just thought, what better place to put it in so that as many people as possible could get a chance to experience that fight and be able to finally put down Deathwing for good. Now, what we're doing with it specifically is a lower difficulty level than normal difficulty. And that doesn't mean that we're just going to go in and tune the hit points down a little bit, and we're going to go in and tune their damage down, 20 or 30%. Instead, we're actually going to go in and look at the mechanics, see how complicated they feel, talk about could a group of 25 people that haven't played together before be able to figure this out, and actually build something that works for them. If we took the shortcut route about just, literally just changing numbers, that's still not going to tune down the complexity of the fight. Yes, it might make it easier, but then you're not going to know why you beat it. You're not going to actually pick up on those mechanics. So we're actually going to go in and make sure that these fights feel right for this difficulty level. Like I mentioned, this is going to be in patch 4.3 with Dragonsoul, but in 5.0, Mists of Pandaria, it's actually going to be for every single dungeon
do 2 healing specs and 1 damage spec.
So it's really going to be cool because starting out early on in the expansion, so many people are going to have more access to more content. You're not necessarily going to be done when you finish, heroic dungeons, and maybe you've done challenge modes, and now you feel like you're ready, but you don't necessarily have a group to raid with. Being able to use Raid Finder is a way to get in really quickly. Now, on the opposite side for Raid Finder, we've also made sure that the loot and the rewards that you get from it feel appropriate to that level of player that's doing it. So, for instance, you're not going to be able to get vanity items out of the normal Raid Finder, things like mounts that would drop off the final boss. We keep those in normal or heroic. Things like achievements for specific bosses are going to end up staying in the normal and heroic. We will have an achievement that says you've done Raid Finder, but that would probably be it. And then all the rest of our achievements would end up staying in the normal and heroic modes. So that, there's a lot of people that play those modes and they take a lot of pride in the fact that they can finish that content. And we think that's awesome. We want that to still exist. But we also want to be able to open that content up to more people, and that's where Raid Finder slots in. So we've got a couple mock-ups of how this would look. We've been talking a lot about how to get people more motivated to do raids. So we thought, along with Valor Points, a side of fries would be sweet.
So tasty.
So this is it's going to look very much like Dungeon Finder that you see now. You're going to be able to open it up, pick your role, and queue up for it. And one really important point about Raid Finder is that it works for 25-player raids, not for 10-player. And we did that specifically because it's going to be so much better queue times if we do 25, because we can fill it with 17 DPS versus in a 10-man where we use a much smaller number, and the queue times would just be way bigger. So 25-player raids end up working much better for Raid Finder than 10-player. And now Scott's